Discussion on Applied Corporate Finance, Unit 5, Dividend Policies of Companies. And in this particular section, we're going to discuss about how do you gauge if a company is paying enough dividends or not, right? So how much are they paying? And if they're not paying, then what are they doing with the money? These are two important considerations that come to us when we look at broadly analyzing what is the dividend policy of a company, right? Now, under this construct, when you're assessing a company's dividend policy, there are two probable things that you need to understand. We first need to find out how much the company has paid and how much they could have paid, right? So technically, how much money do they have to pay dividends and how much have they used to actually pay? Now, what they pay, what they actually pay versus what they could have paid, if this is lesser, if they're paying lesser, then what are they doing with that money, right? And the more important consideration is if they are creating value by investing that amount, by reinvesting that amount into the business, are the managers really doing anything with that cash? So we figure out how much cash a company is generating. That gives us how much dividend it could pay. And then we try and find out how much it is actually paying, and then we try and identify if there is a big gap between these two. That means the company is not paying a lot of dividend, which means it is reinvesting a lot of it. What is the reinvestment return, right? So what kind of returns they are generating on the money year on year, right? Second way to look at it is we can find if the company is paying enough when compared to peers, either in the form of payout ratio or in the form of a comparison between the actual payment versus potential payment, right? We could look at both these calculations to understand whether or not a company is paying enough dividends to its shareholders as compared to its peers, right? Now let's kind of take this ahead and to figure out what the company paid. We're going to look at the first thing now, which is the payment that the company is doing versus what is the potential for payment. To understand what did they pay, we have to look at both the dividends and any kind of buybacks, because stock buybacks are in a way returning cash to the shareholders, correct? I'm buying shares from the existing shareholders at a certain price point. That's basically returning money to some shareholders, correct? So stock buybacks are similar to dividends, and hence a company could either choose dividends or choose stock buybacks. Any one of these is fine. So we need to actually figure out if there is a case where a company has paid done both of these activities, and then we compare it with the potential. It's also possible that a company does not do buyback every year. Typically, dividend comes every year, but buybacks happen once in a while. So it's possible that we might get a better picture if we view this over a period of multiple years, since buybacks may not happen every year. They may not do those buybacks every year, right? So it might make sense to look at maybe a 3-year or a 5-year period and then compare what the firm has really done over this period, right? So we're going to look at this step by step in terms of what is the dividend the company has paid each of these years, and what is the kind of returns that they have generated on the money that they have not paid as dividends, right? Now, so that's the angle of how much the company has paid, which is dividend plus stock buybacks. Now we turn our attention to how much could they have paid, which is the potential. Recall from our earlier discussions that the potential of dividend payment is nothing but the free cash flow to equity, correct? So free cash flow to equity is a measure of how much cash is left in the business after all the non-equity payments are done and any reinvestment needs for future are taken care of in the form of either capex or working capital needs. If you recall, how do we arrive at the free cash flow to equity? We start with the net profit number, correct? To that we add the depreciation slash amortization, if there is anything of that sort. Amortization, if we recall, is nothing but depreciation for intangible assets. To this, we subtract any kind of capital expenditure, capex, that the company has done.